Hi, my name is Luqman. I'm the Imam at Academy Alive in Underwood in Brisbane.
Great. And then so last year when COVID first started, what was the effect on your programs, people attending your programs?
Last year, before COVID occurred, COVID came into place, we had a lot of people coming into our mosque, into our prayer hall, and when COVID came in, first we had to do separations because as Muslims we used to pray shoulder to shoulder, so my shoulder will be touching another person's shoulder. So we kind of transitioned through phases. We went from shoulder to shoulder, and then we had a big gap, about 1.5 meter, what the measurement was, until it closed down. So when it closed down, it really affected Muslims in a big way. The males, it's compulsory for us to go to the church and to the mosque every single week on Friday. So that specific event of not being able to go to the mosque on Friday prayer really affected a lot of the Muslim men. And when we had our celebration, our Eid, not being able to gather, it's a big get together where all the Muslims from around the area will get together and pray, and not being able to do that was really made a lot of people feel really sad. But we, on the other hand, saw it as a blessing. First there was a bit of sadness because we couldn't go to the mosque and pray and worship God 5 times a day the way we would love to. But what we saw was
action.
A few of my students and people that I know, they were quite happy with what happened during COVID, and during the uncertain times they were made redundant. But they got a good severance package, and what actually happened is a lot of the international labour that was in Queensland went back. So now there's a high shortage. There is a shortage of skilled labourers. So the Australians residents are getting to pick and choose their employment package and things like that. So for the Australians that are skilled in Australia, even in general in the labour market, there has been a shortage that they are able to get back into the field and at a better rate. So a lot of people have been quite happy with what happened. Not everyone, with what happened in regards to their employment, that they realised there were more important things. For example, my student, she stopped working and she doesn't want to go back to work. She realised her time with her children and daughter was more important than what she was making at work, and people really reevaluated their work-life commitment balance, and I think that's a good positive story out of it.
You said some people did a career change?
Yes, we also had a fair few people that did a career change, realized, in that downtime when they've been made redundant, what was their real priorities, and they've actually gone down past what the jobs that they're more passionate about. So I think as a whole, Australia now has people who are more passionate about their work. So hopefully that will increase productivity, creativity, and sustainability.
Yeah.
I had to chuck it.
Operate.
The Islamic classes for the children, the Madrasas, they were put on hold. Some were put on Zoom, but just like all Zoom classes, it was a nightmare. But alhamdulillah, we were able to overcome it, and I think it's quite a big blessing because now more madrasas, more Islamic classes are continuing and growing from the online platform. So everyone had upskilled, all the children got to learn how to learn online. So as a community, as a society, I think we've really learned new things from the COVID.
So how about your kids, how did they go with the online schooling during that period?
I have to bring up my trauma. I'm all excited. just like many parents, I had a lot of struggles becoming a home teacher, trying to teach my children through the online platform, having problems from my side in those early stages, and also the teacher having their problems, they're also learning. So the first stages of it was very difficult. We came to the middle part where I think, just like many parents, we kind of trusted that the teachers were doing the right thing, and we just trusted our children were doing the right thing because we were tired. But after that, let's not use that one. Don't use that one. Okay, one more time, yeah? Just like many parents, we found it a bit of a struggle at the beginning, but we all upskilled, we all learned it. The children became more disciplined, and the children understood the importance of learning, and they began missing learning at school because there wasn't a holiday. They weren't able to go anywhere, and they realized that the most interaction that they're going to have with their friends is through the Zoom classes. And again, that's a benefit of the Zoom classes, that the children were able to become more independent. They were looking forward to their classes because that was the time that they could actually see their friends again. So all in all, it was a bit of a bumpy ride, and we got a happy ending.
And did you have any of was Mr. Fish and Chips Net operating at that time? So what was it like running a food business when all the lockdowns and the COVID and everything happened?
So we had two restaurants, Mr. Fish and Chips, Webley Roadhouse now, and also Seven Brothers Steakhouse. And trying to run a business with your children and teaching your children, and also I had classes that I was conducting online, was a real challenge, because one of the most important things in our life is our children, and we don't want to deprive our children of their education, and at that particular moment they're depending on us as the parents to make sure they're getting that education during COVID. But us as parents, we also need to use that same amount of time that we previously had on our business, splitting it up between our children at home and still trying to run our businesses. And alhamdulillah, praise be to God, that we had a continuous flow because we had a takeaway. We had people coming in and picking up their food, and we did have a good run during COVID. Yeah.
So it was easier because you weren't, well, at least Mr. Fish and Chips, it wasn't a sit-down business, so it was always a takeaway, so it wasn't that big of an impact on it.
Yes, we were fortunate that it was a sit-down, Yes, we were fortunate that it was a takeaway shop, that no one had to sit down, and we didn't have to worry about people intermingling and causing a lockdown or anything like that. And we did have a scare. We did have one big scare when a couple of people in the Logan area had the COVID, and we could see that the entire Logan area, all the shops, we didn't have a lockdown, an extra lockdown, but all the shops went quiet, absolute silence. And those are the days when we'd go, all the shop owners would go outside and look at one another and wave to one another saying, "Oh, it's nice to meet you again." Because usually we know when it goes quiet, all the shop owners go look outside and check the weather.
What about then the Seven Brothers being an actual restaurant? What was that like with lockdowns and things?
So Seven Brothers Steakhouse being an actual sit-down, again, that we face our challenges and we try and overcome it. We did home deliveries at that time. We went out and actually delivered to people to their houses, and we had the Uber. So we had to make our plans to make sure that we were being viable. And yes, there's tough times, and there's tough times in everyone's life, but if we can overcome those difficult times, we will prosper in the easy times.
Okay. Anything else you can think, Samara?
No, I think that's any question I thought
Huh?
So anything long term, like as
changes that they implemented.
Yeah, so anything now long term, you know, either for the mosque or your restaurants or yourself, like, you know, COVID has changed, you know, you've learned or it's changed the way you do things?
So one of the things that we've implemented, or a big lesson that we've taken, is technology, understanding its uses, implementing its capabilities, optimizing the devices that we have, that they communicate with one another. What we've also learned is the power of social media, that today that's the fastest way of communicating. We've learned that there's this thing called market saturation, where at one point everyone was throwing out posters and flyers, and how do you stand out from all that information that is coming at the same time? We also learned that we have to be patient. Things will get better, and we have to have a very positive outlook on life. It doesn't last forever, and if we can enjoy ties, build relationships during these difficult times, those relationships will flourish in easier times.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So do you have, I mean, usually we ask this, do you know anyone else who, you know, has maybe an interesting COVID experiences or stories we might be able to ask?
A few of my students and people that I know, they were quite happy with what happened during COVID, and during the uncertain times they were made redundant, but they got a good severance package. And what actually happened is a lot of the international labour that was in Queensland went back. So now there's a high shortage. There is a shortage of skilled labourers. So the Australians residents are getting to pick and choose their employment package and things like that. So for the Australians that are skilled in Australia, even in general in the labour market, there has been a shortage, that they are able to get back into the field and at a better rate. So a lot of people have been quite happy with what happened. Not everyone, with what happened in regards to their employment, that they realised there were more important things. For example, my student, she stopped working and she doesn't want to go back to work. She realised her time with her children, her daughter, was more important than what she was making at work, and people really reevaluated their work-life commitment balance, and I think that's a good positive story out of it.
You said some people did a career change?
Yes, we also had a fair few people that did a career change, realized, in that downtime when they've been made redundant, what was their real priorities, and they've actually gone down past what the jobs that they're more passionate about. So I think as a whole, Australia now has people who are more passionate about their work. So hopefully that will increase productivity, creativity, and sustainability.